What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Sly Jordy, and welcome back to some more F1 25 career mode for the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort Reverse. That's right, one of the final of the three reverse tracks in this year's game. Of course, I haven't played it yet. I've only gone around it in F2 cars, so this episode will be my first experience of the track in its reverse form. But if you missed last episode at the Belgian Grand Prix, it was a pretty successful weekend for ourselves. A P2 in the sprint and a dominant P1, a win in the full race. Of course, Leclerc swapping positions with us there between those two races. He was on really good form that weekend. Verstappen starting to claw his way back to form after a nightmare Silverstone weekend, and Norris had a pretty nightmarish weekend overall in Belgium. Of course, Piastri got a really good result coming from P11, ending up finishing in P3, went very long. Norris tried to replicate that strategy, but he just did not have the pace that Piastri did throughout the race at all. Our teammate Fernando Alonso, another disappointing result for him. It's a shame because we are only 35 points off of the top in the Constructors' Championship. Yes, I'm carrying the team, but the fact of the matter is I really shouldn't be. We know the Aston Martin is good enough for consistent top 5 finishes. We should be seeing Alonso around P5 every race, and yet he's just not doing it. He keeps having horrible qualifying sessions, ends up P14 like he did in Great Britain in the OG Silverstone, and then he had a good result in reverse Silverstone, but, a P18 in Jeddah. I think that was safety car related, though. Not too sure about Imola. I think his pace was pretty bad around there. Bahrain P8, I think that was safety car as well. Alonso has been pretty unlucky, but in races where he's not been unlucky, where there's no safety car shenanigans and there's no engine failures, he really should be picking up strong results. A P14 at Silverstone is simply not good enough. A P11 at Imola, simply not good enough. A P11 at Spa is definitely not good enough. The fact that he was struggling with a V-carb is very strange. I don't know if it's engine wear or something, but Alonso, it can't be the AI. It really can't be his coding, because he's gotten a boost since the last update. He is higher rated than he was earlier in the season. I think he went from an 86 to an 89. So fingers crossed he picks up better results as we go into the final leg of the season. We are firmly in the second half of the season now. And yeah, I'm just hoping Alonso picks up some consistent results, because McLaren aren't consistent, Ferrari are certainly not consistent. So if we can get Alonso consistent just like us, that's going to be double championship material. We could have both championships home at Aston Martin by the end of the season. But in terms of everything else, I think we've got some parts coming in for this weekend, so that should be pretty good. We got 2 aerodynamics, aero parts coming in, chassis parts, and of course durability. So pretty much everything apart from the already maxed out powertrain. So we got tire blankets and a plank coming in right now. The tire blankets unfortunately failed. I don't need this guy telling me every single time, I'm not gonna lie.
We're gonna need to tell the team what to redevelop via the R&D screen.
Okay, so how many points will that be? 245. So I think Alonso will do that himself. We do have weekly resources coming through. There's improved materials for the ICE, and weekly resources now have come through just before the season break. Alonso's not repurchased it. I still don't have enough with those resources, so that's a shame. We definitely need to start catching up in terms of chassis, especially to McLaren. Aerodynamically, we're doing pretty well. We're up there. With these upgrades, we would certainly be up there, and they should arrive just before Zandvoort. Fingers crossed as we do get one of those aerodynamic parts, that is for sure. That's awesome, and there we go. So the parts that I wanted the most, we have gotten. The tyre blankets will have to wait until, Alonso is already doing it, thank God. So those should arrive after Zandvoort for Baku. In terms of aerodynamics, let's have a look at the wheel rim covers. We are now the second best team aerodynamically, so there is absolutely no excuse for Alonso now because we are certainly one of the best cars on the grid, which is a really good sign going into this weekend as we now head on over to Circuit Zandvoort Reverse. Definitely very excited about this one, especially turn 1 around the banking. That is going to be absolutely crazy. And honestly, these reverse tracks have felt better than the actual ones. I don't know if that's just because they're new and we're in sort of a honeymoon phase for those tracks, but I genuinely do prefer Austria Reverse and Silverstone Reverse to their actual counterparts. Austria might be up in the air, honestly. I do prefer that Sector 1 is the one that wears down on the tyres and not Sector, not the other way around anymore. Or rather, Sector 3 is the one that we do first. You know the point I'm getting at. It makes it a little easier to defend against cars, I suppose. And maybe that just makes it better to, like, it feels better. Does it make for better racing? I don't know. But I genuinely, firmly believe that Silverstone Reverse is better than actual Silverstone, that is for sure, as we now look at these messages. Honestly, Alonso's really bad performances, maybe he might be retiring soon. I don't know. He certainly will be one of the first drivers to do so when we start seeing retirements in this career mode. So we'll have to see what happens there. But let's have a look at the progress history in terms of the R&D. And yeah, we are the only team that's made major upgrades going into this one. Actually, Alpine have made some major updates as well, so keep an eye on them. But we are now equal with Red Bull and Ferrari, which is huge, absolutely huge. We've had some instances where we've gotten pretty lucky over the course of this season. We've been really, really consistent. Of course, Bahrain and Jeddah, very lucky with the safety car. Monaco is Monaco. That will not appear on this series again. It's way too easy. It's just broken. That's what I'm saying. Like, it works, you can race it, but it's just not any good against the AI at all. And then, we've just been pretty good consistent-wise since then. It's a shorter season, so it obviously looks a lot better than it might do in a 24-race season. But, yeah, we're going into some tracks now, the next 3 circuits that I don't feel hugely confident at. We did do well in Season 1 with the V-Carb at Zandvoort, nearly got a podium. Hamilton beat us to the line, photo finish. Honestly, it didn't look like he did. Very controversial finish, that is for sure. Baku, definitely one I'm not too confident at as well, but at the same time, I've had some really good races there. Baku, actually, I never actually won at in F1 23. I think it might have been the only track that we never did. And then Singapore is another one that I'm not too confident on as well, especially if we get some heavy rain or any rain at all. And Brazil, usually I would look forward to that, but the AI acceleration definitely makes it feel a lot different this year. Vegas, I'm definitely confident at after Season 1. We won, of course, at Vegas last season. And then Qatar, yeah, we're definitely lowering the difficulty for that one. Hopefully we can get a better race out of it than we did last season. I think we ended up getting a better race last season, so we'll see what happens in the sprint as well. And then, of course, Abu Dhabi. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of this season, starting with Reverse Zandvoort. Let's get to it.
Just look at that sea of orange. No surprises if I tell you we're here in Holland at Zandvoort for the Max Verstappen celebration party. It's a quick track and perfect for high speeds, high stakes qualifying. Welcome along to the Dutch Grand Prix qualifying day.
Well, here we are finally for the Dutch Grand Prix of Season 2 around Zandvoort Reverse. First of all, really, really sorry for the wait between episodes. Of course, I have been so busy. At the beginning of October, of course, we were kicking off our Halloween season with some Five Nights at Freddy's, and then Black Ops 7 entered beta, so I was, hard playing that. And then my house has new owners, so I was deep cleaning, or helping to deep clean rather, and now finally I've got some time to finish off this episode of F1 25 and get started working on it again. So first of all, I actually really like this layout of Zandvoort, but very different to my feelings towards Austria reverse and Silverstone reverse, because I actually don't think Zandvoort reverse really changes the track all that much. You know, the turn 1 is definitely very, very interesting, but past that, it's just a very similar track in general. It kind of flows the same way. I get kind of the same feelings as I do in normal Zandvoort, but yeah, a really, really good start as we do set provisional pole, and the time wasn't that much greater throughout the rest of the lap until Sector 3, where we put it all together, and now we're close to a 0.2 improvement as we go up to the line. What's it going to be? It is pole position around Zandvoort. So Zandvoort is a track that I actually seem to be pretty good at in F1 25. I remember it being one of my favourite tracks to drive on in 2020, and then in 23 and 24 it just didn't feel nearly as good, but it seems to be back to its best in this game, and clearly I am back to my best. We got a P4, if I remember, in the full race in the V-Carb, and now a P1 with the Aston Martin, and even our teammate has qualified well. Let's see if we can make something out of it.
Welcome along then to the North Sea coast and to the Zandvoort circuit. We're 25 miles away from Amsterdam for today's Dutch Grand Prix. It's a race the great Jim Clark won on 4 occasions, leading for an astonishing total of 370 laps. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. The rookie lines up on pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Ocon, Pierre Gasly and Fernando Alonso, Tsunoda, Albon, Hadjar and Max Verstappen, Piastri, Leclerc, Ollie Behrman and Stroll, Sainz, Hulkenberg, Jack Doohan and Gabriel Bortoleto, Colapinto and Andrea Kimi Antonelli rounds off the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track. And joining me in the commentary box this afternoon, the First Lady of World Motorsports, Naomi Schiff. Now, we had great fun watching them win last time out. What a great victory it was. But can they carry that into today's race?
Well, they're certainly in a great position. It's always great to just come off of a win. The momentum's there, the team are working well together, and so is the car. So what they've got to do is just keep building on that. Don't change a winning formula. Keep it simple and keep doing what you're doing.
With 5 races remaining, we're still in with a chance of taking the Constructors' Championship. The team needs a result from you today.
Well, a good result is what I'm hoping to give them, and they'll be telling Fernando the same thing on the radio. In fact, most of the teams will be telling their drivers the same thing on the radio, especially those that have been inconsistent, which is pretty much everybody apart from myself and Lando Norris. Originally, they wanted me to start on the soft tyre compound, but we know what the softs are like. Especially in this game, I really don't trust them, and so I've opted to go with the mediums instead. We might take a little bit of pain at the beginning of the race, but as the stint goes on, we're only going to get quicker and quicker versus our rivals. So our teammate starting down in P6. I don't know whether he's on the mediums or the softs, we'll have to see, but this will be a good opportunity for a good start for everyone involved. As the 5 red lights finally go out and we are underway. George Russell, a shocking start from him as Lando Norris immediately moves up into P2, and it's Esteban Ocon moving up into P3 side by side with George Russell almost. Meanwhile, our teammate Fernando Alonso looking to get past Gasly. Gasly, he's got him past him, so that is amazing news for us. Hopefully the engine manages to stay healthy, but look at that. Esteban Ocon, great start in the Haas, very similar to the last race in Spa, but of course we know the Haas is not that good of a car overall in terms of tyre wear, definitely one of the worst, so expect to see him drop through the field unless he defends like a lion, like Alonso would have wanted him to do years ago. But this time, yeah, a podium for Haas would be absolutely insane. But watching our teammate right now, he's up into P5, chasing down George Russell, of course. Piastri down in P10, Verstappen behind him in P11, Behrman separating the two Ferraris as we see Leclerc in P13. So Behrman actually would have caught Leclerc off the line. So Haas getting a good start in general, because Leclerc got a 10-second grid penalty, so he would have started in P12. Correct me if I'm wrong. I wasn't really looking, but look at this Lando Norris having a look around the outside, but we have that completely covered. And in fact, Zandvoort is a pretty narrow track, so when it comes to defending our lead, other than turn 1, we're going to have a very easy time of it. So we'll have to see what happens as we go through the Grand Prix onto lap 3 now. It looks like it's going to be a 2-man race for the lead, as Esteban Ocon's starting to fall out of DRS. In fact, I'm impressed that he's managed to keep it this far. We dipped a little bit of our tyre into the gravel earlier, so Norris is able to get a much better getaway out of the final corner. Side by side now going into turn 1, but he needs to back out. 2 cars will not go safely through turn 1 around Zandvoort reverse, that is for sure, and Norris has 32 laps to go to get this move done. He is in no rush to make any big sacrifices at this point. I mean, if we score big points versus Norris in this race, the championship might be all but done. But we make a mistake going out of the final corner on lap 6, getting too much on the curb, and now Norris, it's pretty much inevitable that he might make a huge move on us. He's going to go down the inside this time as we fail of our objective. And look at this, side by side, Norris diving down the inside of turn 2 here, as we are still side by side going into turn 3. We're going to dive down the inside now, transitioning into turn 4. What's going to happen here? We're going to have to get on the grass a little bit, and somehow, some way, we managed to secure DRS during all that battling. That was accidental, but I'm thanking my lucky stars for that. That is for sure, as we just about managed to retain the lead in this race. And that's the way it stays. That was kind of a last gasp from Norris there with the softs, because they really started to go off as we are now moving through the laps. And I'm surprised they've even gone that long. I mean, look at the tyre wear for us on our right hand, on our right front. We are nearly 2 seconds ahead of Norris now. This is going to be our pit lap. We're pitting on the same lap as everybody with the softs. This is actually insane. Insane how long the AI are able to go on soft tyres, but that's because they don't really simulate proper tyre temperatures. They have a huge advantage in that regard. And look at how fast the McLaren pit crew is. That is just diabolical, the amount of advantage that McLaren might have with the pit crew being as quick as that. But we'll resume back to the lead of the race. It is our teammate Fernando Alonso leading, defending from the Red Bull of Yuki Tsunoda. So yeah, really good race for Alonso thus far. We'll see if Alonso is able to stay in front of the likes of George Russell, who is looking for an undercut here, or whatever the equivalent would be. Of course, Russell was in front of Alonso, but Russell also might get caught up into traffic. Ocon has also pitted. He's all the way down in P17 though, so I think he pitted maybe a bit before, but of course me and Norris were just so far ahead that, you know, we came out in P6 and P7 respectively. Norris somehow has actually ended up 2 seconds behind me. Maybe he had a bit of an issue with the pit stop. The pit crew might have been really quick, but I don't know. Somehow we were on the onboard with Tsunoda at P4, so something must have happened to Yuki. Alonso, however, I've received word, is now pitting on this lap. So we're about to see whether or not Alonso might end up with a really good result there, of his own doing anyway. Again, there still could be the chance of an engine failure. Albon and Tsunoda still going, as we are now looking to make our move on the Ferrari of Max Verstappen, having a nightmare race in his home race. He definitely made that a little bit difficult for us, but of course 2 cars don't really go into turn 1 like that anyway without some troubles. So luckily we have a lot more grip on these hard tyres, as our teammate is now exiting the pits. Where is he going to end up? Just in front of Ocon. Oh, Ocon taking a risk there, diving down the inside and managing to keep the position. That is going to be for P3, I think. I think this is a battle for P3. Alonso has actually ended up in front of Russell, so there might be a bit of pace issue. Maybe they both got caught in traffic. Maybe Ocon is starting to feel the tyre wear now, of course. Or maybe the Haas is only quick on a certain set of tyres. I don't know. But here's a view on Tsunoda once more, chasing down Alonso back in lap 15. And yeah, lost control of the car. But a pretty good save by the end of it. Honestly, good on you, Yuki. But he does fall down to P4. Could have been worse, though, if he full-blown spun. In fact, it could have been a safety car or a red flag. So I'm really glad he saved it as we dive down the inside of Alex Albon, making it look easy because it was. Albon, of course, still out on those old mediums. Same with Yuki Tsunoda, who is now finally pitting. In fact, I think he should have pitted ages ago, judging by how he nearly lost full control of the car. But Albon still out on those mediums. That is insane. And really good news for us, honestly, as we set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. We're about to see if Albon could maybe hold up Norris. Norris hasn't really made too much progress at all, as we now look on the view of Fernando Alonso. He's going to be defending from both George Russell and Gasly, but he's also looking to make the move on Esteban Ocon for P3. Can he get it done? Yes, he can. Oh, Ocon fighting back, though, round the outside. That's not what I expected at all. I love the AI in this year's game. And thankfully, Alonso is able to stave off that attack, that last-ditch effort from Ocon, who's... yeah, tyres are starting to give up on him now. The Haas chassis compared to the Aston Martin, the Mercedes and the Alpine, nowhere near as good. Well, maybe they'll be able to compete with the Alpine, but the Mercedes and the Aston Martin, we know, are way better, especially with all the upgrades that we've received in the last couple of races, that is for sure. As we now switch on to the view of George Russell. In fact, I'm really happy Ocon was there, because Ocon is really slow, and he's actually held back Russell for another lap. And Alonso is now 2 seconds ahead as, Haas, Ocon in the Haas still made that a bit difficult for Russell. He really is trying to fight for all of these positions, but clearly he's reached the peak of the car's potential. There's a massive DRS train for P5 down to P9 Albon. Leclerc probably will be catching up soon if Ocon's pace continues to drop. George Russell now has the task of catching up to Fernando Alonso for P3 as we go through each lap. Russell is getting closer and closer, so Mercedes bringing in some really good upgrades. It clearly is the better car over the Aston Martin, at least around this track anyway. We'll see how Alonso defends against Russell, but so far Alonso is doing well, but Russell finally gets close enough, going down the inside. Alonso's going to try and fight it off, but eventually runs out of grip and has to slot in behind Russell. So unfortunately, we're not getting a double Aston Martin podium for the first time in the team's history. That would have been really, really awesome, but yeah, it wasn't meant to be. But a P4 is still very, very strong, especially considering what the other teams are doing. Alonso in P4, we've got Piastri in P13, the Ferraris down in P6 and 7. So us in the Aston Martin will be taking away most of the points, and that is pretty much it. You know, Zandvoort is one of those tracks where the leader in clean air is just going to run away with it, and yeah, just like in real life, that just also happens in the game. So we celebrate as we cross the line to take probably the easiest win of our career. Honestly, we'll see how this video does. I might end up removing Zandvoort altogether from the calendar, or maybe we can push the difficulty up in future, have this as one of those tracks. We'll see, but yeah, pretty easy victory for us, and I'll happily take those points, and I am ecstatic that Fernando was able to get a strong result for the team in our bid for the Constructors' Championship. And there's driver of the day for the GOAT as the cherry on top.
Well, that's 2 wins in a row for them now. That's really going to help them gain confidence and start to build that momentum that they're really going to be looking for.
I can see them on their way out to the podium now. Aston Martin are really making waves in this sport, and what a special race this was to see them earn that top spot.
Well, a second win in a row for us in our bid for our very first championship in Formula One with this absolutely incredible Aston Martin car that is just getting better and better by the Grand Prix. And obviously with Fernando Alonso pulling a strong result, there is a very good chance that we could be winning the Constructors' Championship by the end of the season. That's what I'm personally hoping for. Double championships in our first season at Aston Martin in this new team with Adrian Newey behind the car. That is this is a power trip of a team, that is for sure. 12 points for Alonso. Finally, the inconsistency meets its end. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I might have jinxed it there. Alonso might have a really bad result next time out. Let's hope he doesn't. Verstappen only able to get a P5. Leclerc a P7, so Verstappen was able to overtake Gasly near the end, but look at that, only 16 points off of McLaren at the top, Ferrari just 2 points off of us, so it's a three-way battle for the Constructors' Championship. It's going to be very, very interesting as we go throughout the season. Alonso moves his way up the standings to P8 as we also extend our lead to 42 points, so we're about two race wins ahead of every other driver in the standings right now, and that is just purely down to our consistency. So, guys, that was Reverse Zandvoort and F125. If you guys liked it, be sure to hit that like button as hard as you possibly can. Next time out, I don't remember what the track is, to be quite honest, so I'm not going to say anything until I start recording for that episode. But guys, cheers for watching. The wait will not be as long next time. I will see you guys very soon for some more F125 career mode. Until next time, peace.